In this screencast, I want to show you how to analyze data in Excel 2010 that's come from the PowerPivot add-in for Excel 2010 that is actually part of SQL Server 2008 R2. I've got all the data that I loaded in from my previous screencasts on this PowerPivot. You can see the various tabs here at the bottom of the screen, which are now all related to each other. So I'm now ready to begin my analysis. And we use pivot tables traditionally to do this, and it's no different with PowerPivot. I'm actually going to create a chart and a table in one go on my existing worksheet, and I'm just going to create that down the screen a bit to give me a bit of room for other things I want to show you later on. So I'm just going to start here. As soon as I do that, you see the familiar tools that we had in Excel 2007. We've got the regions that are bound to the data here, and then we've got the various attributes that we can put on to those regions over here. So starting off with the pivot table, I'm going to go and get a measure from the Factual Sales tab on my PowerPivot, and that was reseller profit, a calculated measure I created in my last screencast. Because all this data is joined together in PowerPivot, I can pick any of these attributes and get meaningful information back. So I could select business type and reseller name to get a complete list of resellers by business type and how much profit each one of those has made. And to make it a true pivot table, I would then create another axis, maybe bringing on something like calendar year onto the column labels. And there we are. So that's much as we used to do before. And it's pretty much the same with charts. So on here, I might decide to do my analysis month by month on month number of year. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. That needs to be on the axis. And then I'm going to pick up a couple of measures, namely sales amount and order quantity. And here we get the familiar graph that we've seen before. And I might just further refine that by making this a different type of chart. And edit the series data so that we can put it on a secondary axis so it becomes more visible, like so. One really good feature in Excel 2010 is slicers, and I want to show you those now. You can see we've got these two windows here, and what I need to do is just to drag some attributes into one of those. If I drag on product category and then the subcategory underneath, you can immediately see that the categories are now populated with all the possible values, and so are the subcategories. They're also all highlighted, and if I select just one, we can see that we've just got the data for bikes, both on the chart and on the data region. I can further refine that by choosing a subcategory. And notice how things get greyed out when I select other things. I can also select multiple values if I want to, just by using Shift and Control in the normal way. And that's a very quick way to navigate all the data we've got in our pivot tables. What I want to do with the chart now is to just have a slicer that applies just to it and not to the pivot table. So if I select the chart, you can see that I've now got a green thing at the top here, and I've got the Analyze option here, and I can insert a slicer. If I do that, it's much the same as we saw before, and I can pick calendar year here. And when I do, the slicer floats over the top of everything else, making a bit of a mess. We can soon fix that. First of all, I'm going to increase the number of columns to 10. Give us 10 years worth of data. Then I'm just going to resize it so it fits nicely on the page, like so. I can also apply styles to these slicers just to make them a bit more interesting visually to look at. So that was a lightning tour of analysis in Excel 2010 with the PowerPivot add-in installed. I've put some resources up here to help get you started with your own analysis.